Yeah. So what do you think the most significant challenge is going to be for community banks in 2026 or maybe beyond?
I would say too much. Do we talk about AI, or should we talk about stable coins or core conversions or digital ABCDE, or all over the mess and maze? There's just too much that I think is pretty instrumental stuff.
Theory talks.
Focus and then educating to the focus. It's hard. Because look, pick any of those things I just said, and then who do we trust to tell me the right answer?
Ooh. I tell you, it's stable.
Because a lot of those, I don't know that I have the right answer. Right? I would vote
It's a trap door. You got to be very careful because it's going to lead to tokenization, whether it's tokenization deposits or loans, which if you think that through for a minute, we used to have an abstract, and then we went to a title policy, right? Well, we're going to go to a digital world of everything.
Yep.
And that will go through the crypto world that we have not built yet. And I think when we were talking at lunch about doing the little hopscotch of bad actors being involved in multiple places, or somebody just innocently trying to find a shortcut from point A to point B, and we open a virtual account without somebody else knowing. They didn't know it was necessarily a bad thing. But we're the police of ourselves. And if we can police ourselves correctly, I think a lot of people that lead us into bad places, we will figure out how to do it correctly. And the banking system has an opportunity to own it in a good way. It needs to. But I think the pioneers are going to cause a lot of, what do they call it, run fast and break things? So I think it's up to us to figure out how to do it correctly. And then I think we come back to a point where we own it.
Also, I think, disruption is one of my favorite words that I hate the most, because everybody brags about being a digital disruptor or whatever the thing is. And it's like, well, did anybody ask who we're disrupting? Right? It could be like the little bank down the street or the single mom with the snow cone stand, or like somebody's taking something from somebody. And I think when you look at banking that way and all of this shift and change, be careful. I think in a lot of ways, we're going to disrupt ourselves. I think stablecoin's one of those. I mean, think about any transaction fees, fee income, interchange, that full world.
Yeah.
Where we'd be disrupting our own thing. Here's a great one. This is a really good one. All right. Look at banking as a service and embedded finance. All of the fintechs that we've talked about, right? Robinhood, Coinbase, Rocket Mortgage is my favorite. We did that to ourselves, or other banks did, right? You could point and say Cross River, then we're exactly the first, but right? If you look back and said, let's say Cross River with Rocket Mortgage, and let's just say we blame all of the decline of mortgages on Rocket Mortgage only, which isn't fair, but it's a pretty good analogy, right? They do a Sterling. Then you have to say that the first time that the first bank opened up and allowed a third party, Rocket Mortgage, to provide their banking services, kind of be a reseller of those direct bank products like loans, then where does this movie end? And do we all have to do it? Is it like a Pandora's box? I would argue maybe yes. That's kind of seems to be the shift in the trend. But again, regardless of how much of that shakeup, the right question is, are we doing it to ourselves? And should we be careful of doing things to ourselves in the future?
Your call.
And how in the hell are we supposed to police ourselves?
Get good work when that cat's out.
Or that movie, The Terminator, 1201, that AI took over. I'm really concerned about that too.
If you guys went back, if you looked at, the early days of y'all's era, you have to look at the creation of the big banks. You talk a lot about like ranch banking laws, right? That I doubt anybody really, really saw that come into the scope that it's at today.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you did. Yeah. Okay.
We're dead.
That didn't shock me.
Well, look, from my standpoint, a community bank, we've all kind of grown up in small towns, and not everybody has, but there's nothing really happens in a community. Not a baby's born. There's not a burial or, celebration of life that happens without the bank being involved in some way, from my standpoint. And, you involve, everything from buying flowers to whatever's involved, or, baby gifts, whatever. And so the point is that when we look at all this AI, I think it's processing a lot of information is great. And I'm not saying it doesn't have its place in banking, but what AI doesn't have, it doesn't have character, it doesn't have morals, it doesn't have judgment, it doesn't have feelings. And that's what community banks have. And so to me, that's what we have to preserve. We have to preserve.
To the point, and so many people laugh. Yeah, I'm with you. I get like militant about it, where I'm like, it's a big deal.
Well, but it's a little bit of a shifting market. So here's what I would say. I would be really worried of the future if I was a credit union. Do you want to do all consumer and maybe some auto loans? Good luck. But if to AJ's point, take this and say, let's take that relationship banking and let's focus that on small business owners, right? And commercial, or whether that's, you guys talked a lot about construction, right? Et cetera, wealth management, those areas where that white glove service, as an analogy, can be good for everybody. And I think, I don't know about you guys, has anybody ever played with the private banking space? So I've only worked with a couple of private banks that one of them you had to be a declinaire, which I'm like, what's that, right? You got to have 10 million. He's gonna have the relationship, right? So they would have, I think they had 200 or 300 total customers, but they would remember people's anniversary, send flowers. They would, set up a stay at the spa for the spouse or whatever, right? Have people come pick you up and drop you off to take a weekend vacation at the airport, right? Really white glove service. And I think there's a lot more need there, to your point, that everybody is not seeing. I mean, think about the business owner side. If I could figure out how a bank would go to the damn post office and pick up all the friggin' checks that we still get from invoices, right? And I didn't have to deal with that, God knows where I'm going to pay. It's a lot. It's enough that I would never want to tell anybody because somebody can build it, right? So I do think there's more white glove opportunity that we're probably already putting in a lot of the effort for.
Yeah.
If you think about it, that's kind of it is. Well, that's what we've always done. We just need to maybe tailor our markets a little bit better, target better.
I think one of the ways to police, which is a good question, and I don't pretend to have the answer, hard one, but I think if to police ourselves, community banks, we have to stick to the personal side, the personal delivery. So because if we ever give that up completely, where there's no personal touch, then we essentially are competing with the worldwide. But I think as long as someone wants to have a personal touch, there've got to be a community bank involved, because you're not being behind the screen in India, China, getting phone calls and taking phone calls to video calling. That's not service, and that's not personal.
Yep. I'll tell you, this is a weird one, maybe too personal. Working from home, I pretty much see my wife and little girl, other than all of you guys on the screen, right? And so I've got a really good buddy of mine in Comfort, one's like my contractor, right? So anything that I ever need, I call one, right? From painting the house to, concrete work. I did recently did a patio, I call one, right? And that could be mowing the pasture, whatever it is. And that doesn't mean that one always does it. He's like, hey, just let me know. I'll find some kid to do it, right? And he just tell me what it costs. I hope one pockets 3/4 of the money, and I hope he overcharges me, because one's a friend. I trust one, and he takes care of me. And anytime anything comes up that I haven't done, I'll walk outside and the damn trash is taken out. I'm like, what a great guy, right? So you can tell the correct. You see, it works both ways, but we have a lot of respect for each other, and shit, we spend a lot of Friday nights together too. But you can see that picture of, I think as we've got more people working from home, and you've got all the normal problems of life and business and everything else. I think for your small business owners, there's a heck of a need. He's like, Mom, yeah, where's my, how do I hire my mom?
That's what you do in your life. It's like, help. Yeah. I'll tell you guys a true story here. So they're a battery storage unit thing they're building out near my ranch, and my ranch is going to be like right in the middle of it. So end of March or end of June, they're supposed to buy me out, and I'm okay for a stupid amount of money.
About 8 times what I sold it to him for career skills. There's nothing wrong with that.
you, man. Good for you.
I know a good bank. We gonna go back, go find that stuff for.
Well, I'm your beer. I'm going to be close to Tanner, and I'm going to buy 2 different one place and one place to live. And after hanging out with you guys today, I'm going to open a bank account here. And that's what you said at lunch about taking care of regular people and making not just business loans, but making loans for real estate or whatever, home loans or 1 to 4 family. And it got me. So, yeah, I'll be opening a bank account with you guys before we get out here.
Well, I gotta say, real quick, lunch is incredible.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm trying to fall asleep over here, so one of the conversations I think that we talked a lot about is 2026. I'm going to use Tanner's word. It feels very hopeful. And I see both of you guys inspired. You're excited about the year. With community bankers, what do you see? We talk to banks all day, every day. We can only go in so deep. You live it. You get up and this is your job. You get to do this. You get the opportunity to come in and run a bank. What are you excited about in 2026?
Well, it's probably going to sound oversimplistic, and I certainly don't have the market cornered. And but I think the main thing that I see is that I see our nation kind of back on track to where we're making strides in getting America and the United States back where we needed to be. I kind of felt like when that change took place, and I'm not talking about any kind of political affiliation. I'm talking about just the sense that economically, politically, and otherwise, our country has made a turn. So I'm not saying we're out of the woods yet, but it seems like justice has found a meaning, starting to mean something again. And so for me, that means the American dream is alive. And that's what we see. That's what keeps me excited. That's why I want to come to work early, because I see the American dream alive. People want to own a home. They want to own a business. They want to have a family. They want to send their kids to college. They want their kids to have denture. Braces. I'm sorry. Braces. Anyway, going on. The point is, American dream's alive, and I think that's what I'm excited about. But previously, for the last couple of years, I don't know about y'all, but I've kind of felt like there was a weight there, like something, we were pulling something.
Yeah. Very polarized.
And I am talk about politics and religion, but we pull up and the first thing I see under your sign is "In God We Trust." I love it. That is America. That's where we're headed. I think that we're trying to get back on track. I love your hopeful thoughts.
Thank you.
As it is, policy matters. And I saw Bessa the other day talking about 5% plus, or 1 GDP. That's not like China, y'all. We got 5% plus. We get to see that in the first half or second half of this year. Oh man, banking's going to be roll up.
I actually bought diesel below $3 a gallon this week.
Damn, 297 this morning. That brunch big.
And this room's a race car here, so HB got to have to take a gas just dinner.
And HB had it like 267. I was like, wow, 267. That's like, wow, that's nice. It really did.
John, what are you hopeful for?
Well, I will tell you that I'm hopeful that I agree with Mr. Rodriguez. I feel like the nation is going back to values and beliefs, right? And I think that banking, especially community banking, we're all about customer service and we're about family. And we help everybody we can, especially the single parents, right? And that's really right now, I hate to say it, but I think single parents are the core of the American values and beliefs. And they need help. And so I think that's going to be an opportunity for us to look at and see how we can help them become, healthier financially. But I really do like that. I feel like our values and beliefs are coming back into play. It's not political. It's just, having God we trust, we pray, those kind of, and then just a flag. Those are all things that I think are coming back that we've forgotten as a nation. That's great.
Well, as tragic and painful as it was for everybody in Kerrville, and I know for some of us a little bit downstream with the flood and everything, I don't want to point any silver lining on that. It was that bad for anybody that wasn't here. I know you guys experienced it and saw a lot like I did, but if there was to be that silver lining, it would be that everybody really came together. Mm-hmm. I mean, the amount of people that wave to you driving down the street is different. Right. And I think that I really feel that in comfort. Everybody just, it doesn't matter. You could find the two differentest people who have hated each other for 50 years, and they have a ton of respect and camaraderie come out of all that.
So I'll tell you a true story. So before I started working here, I live in San Antonio. In San Antonio, you got blinders, or you just drive, right? Do anything. It's gotten to a point where when I get home, I see go, hey, I just wave. I don't even know who they are. They're in their own car. Just, hey, how you doing? My wife's like, do you know them? I'm like, no, I don't know them. But it's kind of like, Colonel kind of, I don't know how to say it, but it's kind of like, it brought me to that position where I feel comfortable just being nice and telling people how I kind of like country, right? You're from small town, right? And my wife's like, you just tell everybody hi. I said, I said, life's good.
Didn't hurt, does it?
Last I'll say,
You pick up trophy, they call it 2-finger away.
that's I say last I'll say we all know that's a bunch of BS, but one thing I want to say thank you guys. Terrence, Dave, and I talk all the time. The three of us got to be the most blessed individuals in the world because we get to work together. We're best friends. We have great conversations, and then we get the opportunity to come help you guys out and be a part of your small town and go to a cafe and eat at a restaurant with everybody. Thank you for welcoming me to your place. Thank you for the opportunity to help you. This is what makes it all worthwhile, man. This is what makes it all worthwhile.
Well, we're truly honored that you guys would take time to come see us and talk to us advise us on some of our problems and challenges. And, when I talk to customers, I always ask the thing, how can I help? What challenges can I help you overcome? And what opportunities can I help you take advantage of? And we covered that extensively. Thank you, because we don't have an opportunity. We got our head down to helping customers, and we don't have that opportunity every day. So it's really been a great time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys as well. So thank you guys for the amount of data, right? There's no way that myself or anybody else in the bank, or even the place that I work at, it was a $10 billion corporation. There's no amount of data that we could have gotten at our fingertips as quickly and clear as the data that you guys have provided for us. I really appreciate that because that really helped us make some educated decisions.
I second that comment very much.
I appreciate y'all saying that. That was a lot of years and a lot of work for us, and we're at the heart. I think we've had, I don't want to say anybody has bad ideas or bad opinions, but we've had a lot of opinions and ideas in the industry for a long time. And I think a lot of it could be turned into data. And, it sure makes us look smart, but it's really the data, I promise. I appreciate you guys.
You can't argue against the data, right? This is what I was telling people, the numbers are the numbers, right?
And you mentioned session up earlier, and I was a data guy there. And we threw in a product actually he used one time and held me a long time ago before we ever knew each other, that Beck Church, when we had built that. So there was a bunch of us that came from QuickBooks. Yep. Once that was sold into it, and we ended up at Sheshanoff and said, turn these books into software. And wow, that was kind of what I did in there and built the first database of all this stuff. And what we've really done since way back then, 85, 86, whatever it was, who downloaded this bank data every single quarter. And we know the problems. Like, gosh, if you could figure out this and figure out that. Well, over the years, we figured them out. And now we've been able to extract additional data and put into this stuff to where, when we were talking about churn, for example, versus organic sales on the core or digital, these types of things now build themselves to insights that we didn't have before.
Right.
And so being able to say, okay, can you, I won't say predict the future, but can you damn sure see what's going on here? And when you watch 12,000 banks turn into 4,500, it's like, who's being targeted? Who are the guys that are more likely to sell? Who are the people at risk, right? Conversely, just like you would do a target, if you said, we want to do an acquisition, I want to find guys that have this or have that kind of the footprint or like whatever it is that you want. Using data in ways that we haven't been able to do in the past and to make that available to your everyday community guy. And sit down and say, okay, let's pound out our problem, right? To see if there's some answers in there. And it's like a validation, I guess, of your whole life. You be able to say, yes.
So that's one of my questions, right? So like, what key indicators or what trends do you guys see for community banks, for the ones that are actually going to either survive or get swallowed or whatever you want to call it? What trends and key indicators do you see in the next 3 years that we
Yeah, I would definitely say, looking at some of our data sets, if you looked at, let's just say any kind of peer group you wanted to pull, that could be community banks or the regionals or the big guys, right? If you looked at definitely the smaller side of community banks, a lot of M&A, I think you got to get to let's say maybe not $1 billion, but you need to be on a path to $1 billion, right? Definitely want to get to 500 million. Being below 200 is really tough, right? I'd say the other peer groups that are really interesting is some of these technology things we talked about, like the banking as a service banks, 157, I think, Nils. That would be the best financial performance of any peer group I could come up with, even the big guys, right? The direct digital folks that are launching their own branded fintech, that's probably the second best peer group that I could come up with.
It's the fastest growing.
And they're also, here's the cool thing for kind of the vendor side of the market, those are also growing segments, right? Think about this. If I was going to build something that every community bank uses, let's say that was a core, okay? I'd be building something for a market that is shrinking from M&A. So it's a declining market. Whereas if you just stood back, like we all just showed up to banking today, you could say that direct bank market or that BaaS market, those are growing opportunities to build products there. That's the thing I've been trying to watch and get a better feel for is, account opening is another one, lots of growth there, certainly the last 3 or 4 years. The lending space has actually been pretty hot, loan origination stuff. And we're starting to see more and more in other areas. I'd say buy now, pay later is starting to pick up, and some interesting things around, I'd say credit cards, another one. Very interesting. But yeah, watching those for sure.
So you think that would happen, or that needs to happen in the next 3 years?
I think in the next 3 years, we all as an industry need to figure out where the shift from traditional to the future occurs. I'm hopeful, then don't get me wrong here. I think, let's just say the word digital transformation, which I have done my whole life in banking, and I have no idea what that bullshit means. But let's just say that is, less on the branch footprint side and geography and more digital. We all know that, and everybody's heading in that direction to varying degrees. But across the board, best to worst, we're all decent to pretty good. There's not a big difference there. There's something else, whether that's a niche or a direct bank or BaaS and embedded finance, or there's some other strategy next to the traditional side of what we do that I think could be any one of 20 different strategies. That is something every community bank needs to figure out and start working on in the next 2 years or it's over.
The key indicator that scares me, because I talk to banks all day, every day. It's my whole thesis in life, just talk to banks. And I think the CEO that's being held hostage by back office admin, I just come up with the lines here, right? And they're being held hostage and they refuse to change. And they've got their own strategy, but they're so scared of their internal staff, I think they're going to die. They've got to come out and create a culture where it's okay to the end of it. If it's okay to ask questions, we've got to all get together and say, we cannot lose our charter. We cannot lose our organization. Let's go figure these things out together. But if you've got those two people and they're holding you hostage, it's a cancer. Mm-hmm. And it's going to kill your culture. It's going to kill your bank. And my fear is there's too many of those bankers that's out there today.
It's almost like winners like change.
That was a good call.
And like holding on to the back room, the filing checks and all of that, as opposed to automating it.
No, it's not. Yeah. So I'll give you a good example. The attitude. It's absolutely the attitude.
Attitude.
And I talked to a banker yesterday. He's incredibly innovative, doing some really cool things in the space. He said, "Damn, I just don't know how much longer I can stay on here." I'm like, "What's going on?" He goes, "Everything internal is a struggle, right? Everything's a struggle. Me and the CEO get it, but you have to be okay with conflict. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to come in and say, look, as we got to figure this out together. All ships rise together, right? Mm-hmm. We can do this if we get the right attitude, and there's a way that we can all do this together in a safe and compliant manner." Mm-hmm. Yep. But whenever you got somebody in the background that's holding you hostage and they're negative and they're throwing behind you and they're slitting your throat, talking negatives, and you cannot do this because blah, 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 blah. That's not what you can't have that person. That's a cancer. So you got to make a decision. Either A, you get rid of that person, or you lose your charter because of that person. And that scares me in the banks I talk today. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing a shift.
The smaller, the more in fact.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of people don't want to move, right? Because
That's the old enemy within, right?
Yeah. So you got to find as a happy medium between how fast technology is providing you these benefits and these tools, and how fast you want to move. Right? You can't stay current with technology because that's not a good equation. But if you can, and you can't stay not doing nothing. Right. You can't tell the board of directors or the senior management people can't say no. This is what we've always done it, so it all worked. Those people are dying. That people that their business with you, they're dying. Right. So in order for you to survive, you got to somehow or another find a happy medium between technology and the young people and your services that you're trying to provide. Right. And if you can't find that happy medium because you have Karens or the Jessicas or whatever the new name is now, then I really think you're not going to survive it. Yeah.
I like your point of got to move. But what's funny is I think what Matthew's describing is there's so many, not just the people, but entire organizations that are stuck in the mud. I've argued they're either not moving or actually going backwards. I wouldn't tell anybody you have to move at any particular speed. It's just got to be a green number, not a red number.
Or forward, no, it's all over things. I've sent you 3 comments. I think it's so important. Yeah, I'll promise to let you after this one. I say it over and over and over. I really want you to get a point of view, and I want you to start getting a perspective. That is so important. The people that never get their own point of view or find their own perspective on where those things are going, and they're a turtle, and they go back inside their shell, you got to stop there.
Don't buy your strategy. I love how we're done. So the original question was, what's got to change in 3 years? And, what do we do? Right. So I think if we go back to the idea that, we talked a minute ago about 12,000 banks when we were starting this game, and now we're down to where we are, 4,500, wherever. And you can't turn to the cores and go, hey, well, you're losing 3/4 of your business because you build new innovative products for me to purchase from you, which is where we get most of our products. Okay, these new things that we're talking about, we're so used to having, let's just say, built-ins. We have KYC built in, we have this stuff built in, OFAX built in when we do another kind of opening. We didn't even know that was there, the people on the screens, but it was. So we decided to be a direct banker, we do something outside with a BAS or whatever. We don't realize that a lot of those steps are no longer part of that, and we have to institute that as part of the program, right? Internally. So do those companies exist? Yes. And, can we find them? That's what we do, is help people figure these things out.
It's also more and more difficult for them to enter the market.
Right. And so this innovation over the next 3 years we're talking about, I think everybody said the same thing. If you stand still, it's probably not going to be a happy ending. But if you can embrace what we talk about internally is, where is the money going? There's a ton of it.
There's also more money.
Where is that money going? Now, how do I participate there? Okay, and that is where we get into these other things, digital bank, or whether we're talking about, open other programs or helping your customers launch a card or whatever that might be, or a niche market that you figured out inside of your bank, So now, what are the steps and parts and pieces that need to be done? And so many bankers are like that. Hell if I know, so we just don't start. And that right there is something I think that we can all affect, because that you do know, and we can help you there. Okay. And we don't want anything from you, but it needs to be done. And those that don't do that seek out help to figure out I've got it, and be like, dark sunglasses, cool. How do I go about getting there? That's where they got to get the help.
So in our strategical meeting this year, or last year, we had a strategical meeting for all the C-level people. One of the questions I asked is, who are we? Do we know who we are? Okay. And then who do we want to be? Are we okay being this and just going down the road, being that turtle, whatever we are? Or who do we want to be? Right? Because the market around us is changing very quickly. And if we don't change, we're going to get bought out.
Well, and everybody looks at it like, okay, size is the answer. So if we just buy more banks, and it's like, you're not necessarily, if you ever bought a bank, you're going through a process that's going to take a while.
Right.
Okay, so that kind of bogs down any other crazy new ideas we might have. And if scale was the answer, then I'm going to tell you what, if everybody in the country had a $10 billion bank, except those that are over $10 billion, that would be the new slum.
Well, if we were all talking,
you still can't compete with JP Morgan Chase.
If we had 50 $10 billion banks in the room, they'd all be saying we got to get 20.
Good, but I do like to, during our conversations today, Lance, or
Save the money.
Mr. Rodriguez said, we are very lean, we're ready to number right middle, and we can move, right? There's not a lot of red tape that holds us back, right? And if we can kind of keep that mentality and add automation and compliance and some other things in there for new products, I think we have a real good future.
I love it. I wish everybody felt that way. You guys are tip of the spear.
I'm doing great. Eyes refreshing. The last thing I really want to say, I know everything we're talking about is technology and, but I think you guys have one of the coolest branches. I took a couple of pictures of there
about this
to show Bree when I get home. The wood and the rock work and the black steel are just super cool, man. And I have to say this last thing, I thought this to pieces. Guadalupe Bank is like the coolest brand ever because you could tie anything in the Texas Hill Country at that. Like, I was telling him on the way here, it could be country music, two-stepping at Kreider's, right? Or, of 50 things you guys could be a part of or sponsor, or you name it, that it could be bird hunting or fishing or everything flows into Guadalupe Bank.
Really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you guys having us. We really enjoyed it. Thank you.
And thank you again for lunch.
Enjoy the rest of your day, and we look forward to working together with you